talk to you about color or form. Each one of us, the painting's going to communicate a private bit of information to each one. It's not the same thing to everybody. So I think it's really interesting to see how that communication comes to be. And so I know that you're going to enjoy our guests today are Jim and Ruthie Shook. And you're supposed to be sitting up here on the stools and looking very arty, so please come sit down. And I think Ruthie chose the Louis Mora painting, didn't you? And that is the, no, please sit down, Jim.
Well, you could move.
Oh, you're right in front of it. Well, don't sit down then. It's called The Cruise of the Elida, and it was actually one of the first purchases made by the group of people that were the founding people of this museum. So, Ruthie, would you tell us why you chose this painting?
I have a school teacher voice, so do you want to hear her? I can talk
Oh, I'm
loudly.
sorry. And I also wanted to give you a little short introduction. Both of these people have been very, very involved with the arts in this community for a long, long, long time. Ruthie was the guiding light and the steadying hand on the Round the Fountain Art Fair from its inception. And if it hadn't been for that particular event, I think we would have a community that was not near as interested in art. I think that's really been good to introduce art.
I do have a school teacher voice. Danelle, she doesn't. She taught for a long time and she's still so soft-spoken. But just as I was sitting here looking at this, I guess when all is said and done, to me, art is very personal. And I have no clue what this painting is worth. I don't really care. And that said, same with everything in this room and in this museum. I don't choose paintings because of who painted them or their value. When I look at a piece, it's what does it say to me, which is kind of what Sherry just said. And so as we were walking through the vaults, and which was really a great experience to see all the pieces, and it was overwhelming. And there were lots that I liked, a few I didn't care for. But when I saw this, I knew this was what I wanted. I had, at that point, had no clue that it was one of the first pieces acquired by the museum. And as my husband said, it's kind of been a trademark for the museum over the years. I didn't know any of this, but I'm proud to think that I made a good choice. Actually, what caused me to choose this was I immediately saw my two sons and my father-in-law. My father-in-law is John Graham, and if any of you know him, he's a tall, thin man, and who used to smoke a pipe. And in the earlier days, actually my boys were younger then, but they had a cottage down at Sweetwater Lake, and he would take the boys out in the boat. But I looked at these boys and I could see Adam and Zach, and even the personalities of my two boys are portrayed in these boys here. So that's what first caught me, and then as I looked at it, you know, it's just a beautiful piece. The colors are wonderful. It's soothing. It takes you to another place. I want to find out more about the artist, Louis Mora, and I'm very proud to think that I chose the granddaddy of the paintings. Anyway, and I am honored that I was asked to do this. It's nice to be here.
Does anybody have a question to ask her?
Did you purchase the painting?
I don't think the painting is for sale.
It would look great in your house.
It would, absolutely. I can find a
I think
place
her
for it.
question was, would you?
Oh, would I? Oh, yes, I would. I would. I like it a lot. It really just has a lot of meaning for me.
Ruthie, I have a question. When you look at a painting, this one or any painting, or say Round the Fountain, do you make your choices based on what you would like to have and what would look good in your house, or are there other ways that you look at a painting?
Well, I've been involved in Around the Fountain 38 years, and my tastes have changed over that time period. I've gone from being very traditional to maybe a little more contemporary, but still on the traditional side. So that, you know, I guess it's, when I look at a piece, if I'm going to buy it, it just has to grab me. It has to talk to me. And it doesn't really matter if it's going to look good over my couch. You know, something I'm going to like to live with. I think that's the bottom line. I want to live with a piece.
Any other questions? Then I will introduce Jim Schiff, whose family for several generations have been long and loyal supporters of the museum, and I think particularly Jim has. And often it's in a quiet way, but he's a great asset, and I think we all realize that. Thank you. And we're so pleased that he chose a painting. And Jim, would you like to talk about the painting that you chose and why you chose it?
Well, actually, Ruthie stole my first choice. Because what better represents the Greater Lafayette Museum of Art than the Cruz de Elida, which has been a favorite of mine, and as she said, it's really been the trademark of the museum longer than any of us have known the museum. 100 years now. It is 100 years old. It could very well have captured a scene on the 13th of September, 1911. Could very easily have done that. And what a wonderful expression of youth and vigor and optimism, all of the things that are captured in that great picture. But since she stole my choice, the Dudley, the Frank Dudley, it is something very special to me. First of all, the Indiana Dunes are a signal part of Indiana. When you think of Indiana, the dunes are a signature for us. And Dudley caught this scene as well as anybody has ever painted dunes. He did it because he lived on the dunes, and he was a resident in that area when the state acquired that land for a state park. And he didn't have any income. He was a kind of an itinerant painter. His reputation really followed later, but he made a deal with the state of Indiana that his rent would be a painting a year. And that represents a year's rent for Frank Dudley in his home, which is pretty neat. And that threw the painting into the market, and we were able to acquire it from the museum. I say we, our forebears. A sidebar to that is that some 25 or 30 years ago, the museum didn't have proper storage for its collection. And it farmed paintings out to people in the community who would promise to take good care of them. And I had this Frank Dudley in my office for at least 10 years. And I considered it mine, and I loved it. I still do. But one day, Sharon Theobald called and said, "Have you got that, Dudley?" And I had to fess up, and they came and fetched it back. Well, it's in better shape today because under the current program, it's been updated, refurbished, restored, and it's a beautiful piece. I really think that Dudley's caught the dunes as well as anybody ever did, and with the exception of the Brown County School and painters, the dunes are standout marks for Indiana. So I'm pleased with my number 2.